After this chapter, I think many can agree that the theory that Dabi is Toya is becoming closer and closer to reality. There's just so many things, so many signs pointing towards it, that I truly doubt at this point that Horikoshi is trying to subvert our expectations. I don't think he's that type of writer, like, what happened with Game of Thrones. So what I'm trying to say is I think at this point, it's pretty much obvious that Dabi is Toya. The son of Endeavor, the brother to Todoroki. So, let's talk about the reason why I'm saying this. In this chapter, there's clear signs. Something that has been established in the pro-hero arc with Endeavor, and was once again in the spotlight within this chapter. Let's think about Endeavor's weakness, what his flaw is, and how someone like Todoroki is able to overcome it. Endeavor, one of the major flaws we saw when he was going up against High End was that he's incredibly powerful as a hero. He's insane. But the more he uses his quirk, the hotter his body gets. It starts to heat up. And to the point to where he will just, fry himself. He'll just go unconscious. He'll have blurry vision. We saw this demonstrated in his fight against High End. How far he pushed himself and how he's pretty much at death's door. So, we know, in terms of body heating up, it comes along with Endeavor's quirk, and which was passed down to his children. We know that Todoroki has the exact same problem. The thing is, though, thanks to him also having an ice quirk, he's able to cool down his body. And when his body gets too cold from the ice, he's able to use the heat, the fire, to heat up his body. So, he pretty much has no negative repercussion, as long as if he learns how to properly balance both quirks, from everything we've seen so far. So, Todoroki is a perfect example of someone that's overcome the limitations of the quirk. However, we know Endeavor has that, and his children most likely have the exact same thing, which is why he wanted to find someone with an ice quirk, have the perfect child, which is why he wanted someone like Todoroki. Now, let's get into Dabi. Dabi, we see a critical weakness that is revealed within this chapter, which reveals why Dabi looks like he does, why his skin literally looks like a zombie, why it looks like he's peeling. The reason is because the more he uses his quirk, his body heats up. Very similar to Endeavor, very similar to Todoroki. So that's the major point here, is that Dabi is literally showcasing the exact same weakness as Endeavor. His body is heating up, and it gets so hot to where it starts boiling his skin, which honestly I think is a lot worse than what Endeavor has gone through, or Todoroki, but still, his body literally gets so hot it starts melting his skin. And we saw steam literally coming out of his skin. So that's the point here, is that could explain a lot about Dabi, his appearance, but also how far Endeavor potentially pushed him. And then number 3 as well, it goes along with what was said in the Viz Media translation of the chapter. You have it to where the Ice Boy, he's basically talking about how he wants a society where the strong meta users survive. Basically, people that have very strong abilities that know how to use them, are really good or whatever, they will survive. And you have it to where someone like Dabi is like, I don't really like that, that's kind of disgusting or sickening, and he's like, I want to end you now. Basically, that goes along with why Dabi would hate Endeavor, because Endeavor, he was someone that wanted the best. He wanted a strong, powerful kid with a powerful quirk that could surpass All Might. And so when you think about it, that mentality that was probably beat into Dabi, if he is Endeavor's son, it makes a lot of sense now why he would hate that mentality from the Ice Kid saying that. So all the signs point towards Dabi being Toya. It's all there. But okay, let's get into the Twice stuff. So Twice, as I've already said at the past 2 chapter reviews, Twice has done something unthinkable. He has overcome his trauma, which is something that is incredibly powerful. It is something that I commend the man for. And I really like how meta this chapter was in terms of what Mr. Compress said to Twice. He's like, what is this, a hero origin story? And I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. And I mean, when you really look at it, if we did not know that Twice and Mr. Compress, all of them were villains, you would assume that they're heroes because of just what's going on, at least in the scene. You have to where Twice is wanting to save, Toga. So, I mean, when you look at it like that, you're like, yeah, it kind of looks like that. It looks like a hero origin story. And I just love how Horikoshi was making fun of that, of how people reading this would assume that they might be heroes, which makes the boundary between the League of Villains and our main characters of, Izuku, all them who follow him, it makes it to where it's very conflicted. We don't really know what side to vote on, because now seeing both worldviews, you don't really know who you want to win, which I think is really good for what the story is trying to present. Because once again, My Hero is a story, obviously about Izuku. He's telling it, but these latest chapters aren't Izuku telling the story. This is completely separate from anything Izuku has been narrating. That's why it started off with My Villain Academia. This is a different telling of the story from Shigaraki's perspective. And so Izuku has no part and knows nothing about what's going on here. And so that's kind of what's cool about this, is that we have two narratives. One side we don't understand both sides, like what pushed these characters to be in the position they're at and what paths they took. And so seeing Twice go out of his way to try to help his friends, he's like, I'm still a villain, but it means I still have friends or whatever. I have really good friends, I only have a few of them, and he wanted to save them, which was just incredibly emotional, because even though they're bad guys doesn't mean they can't have friends. And that's something I think many stories do really bad at. They always make you assume that a villain, a bad guy, doesn't have a friend. That's what they always make you want to believe, which is why I like the recent stuff of JoJo. It's very refreshing to see villains, bad guys work together and have like a unity. That's why Part 5 is so good. But getting into My Hero, many assume that because you're a villain, you can't make friends. You don't have good friends, there's nobody you can trust. But that is not necessarily the case. There is a lot of bad people that probably can make good friends. Very good friends. Lifelong friends that they would die for. And you would probably assume from their perspective in their own twisted way that they're good people because of that. But that's the thing here. I love how Horikoshi is spinning around the cliches, not throwing, Nakama power up on the heroes, but giving it to the villains, and having it to where the villains are seeming more like heroes, even if they are villains. And on top of that, they actually have a group of friends they can trust. They are willing to work together and potentially die for each other. I love that. Now, getting into Twice's quirk. Twice's quirk is insane. Now that there is no shackles tying him down, he is going to be insanely powerful. Because one of the things that stopped Twice from being so strong is that he did not copy himself. Which, now that he can copy himself, he pretty much has limitless potential of cloning. Yes, the clones get weaker, that's been stated. But it does not change the fact that he still can make endless clones, which could be served as a wall, a meat shield for opponents. It's incredibly powerful, because now that he can copy himself infinitely, he can do the same for his friends. He can do it for Dabi, he can do it for Mr. Compress, Shigaraki. You can see where this is going, is that he can make endless supply of all of them to fight. They have their own army, their own nation of villains that can fight. And you think about that, that's scary. Because now we gotta look at Dabi as a character, and how scary his ability is, and how it would work perfectly with Twice. See, Twice is able to perfectly replicate someone. Yes, they get a little bit weaker, but they still retain their quirk and all that. So, hypothetically, Twice copies 15 to 20 Dabis, okay? 20 Dabis pop up, even though they're weaker than the main one, because of them being copies, they don't really have to worry about their life. So they could go all out with their abilities with no restraint and in their opponent. Basically, Dabi is holding back. That's what's been established within this chapter. Dabi is holding back because he can't use the full extent of his quirk because of what effects it has on his body. So with someone like Twice coming in, being able to replicate Dabi, Dabi can have his clones just go all in, not care, and burn themselves up. That's scary. That is the power of Twice right now. He can kind of go around some negative repercussions of some people's quirks. They could just, throw their lives out there, kind of like how heroes do now. It kind of levels the playing field a bit. Another thing, too, is that we also have Skeptic have a very interesting moment within the chapter. He is someone that states, Redestro, I am not felled. This is all part of the next phase of the plan. And it's an interesting moment because Skeptic says that he's never failed but once in his life. And the only thing I could assume that he may be failed at in his life would be probably protecting Destro. And so that may be what he's talking about. It's like he hasn't failed yet. And so that's why he got so angry. So failure is something he really takes personal. He does not like failure. And so seeing his perspective, I'm interested to see where his character is going to go. By the way, we also have Gigan. Gigan was awoken at the end of the chapter by the doctor. That's a good and bad thing, because now, with Gigan awake, it's going to speed up the time. They were waiting an hour for Gigan to awake, but now that he's awake, he's going to instantly be able to arrive pretty quickly, and it's just going to put an end to this arc very quickly as well, because Gigan could just level the entire city like nothing. So, this arc is shaping up to be just really amazing, and I can't wait to see how our other characters get their little power-ups as well. I want to see Mr. Compress have a little bit more focus too, because he's an interesting character I want to know more about as well. So I think I want to wrap up this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, because for some reason, even if you subscribe, you don't always get notified. So if you want to get notified, hit that bell icon. And with that, Chibi out.